I'm not a big fan of public speaking, so I wrote everything down so I wouldn't forget what I was saying. Anyways, I'm Dakota. I work at the SWMCCC community program, and I'm also in recovery. I would like to start by saying I'm honored to be able to stand up here and speak today. For me, this event is more than just a fun time, although we are definitely here to have fun. For me, this event is to promote a life-changing experience, an experience that doesn't last a couple of hours, but lasts a lifetime. This experience is called recovery. I am not going to get into great detail in my past, but I'm going to let you know where I once was, the battles I went through to have the opportunity to be here today, and hopefully the chance to be an inspiration to anybody still struggling. Today, as I stand before you, I'm a true testament of the power of recovery. It's a journey that has not only transformed my life, but also inspired me to help others along their journey. Recovery is about reclaiming our lives, embracing our scars, and using our stories to help others. I started drinking and using drugs when I was 15 years old. Like many kids, I began as a weekend warrior, smoking weed and partying every chance I got. What started as a casual weekend fun slowly turned into an everyday habit. By the age of 16, smoking weed no longer gave me the feeling that I was craving, and my curious mind was open to trying anything and everything that I was able to get my hands on. The summer before my senior year in high school, I was introduced to meth. I thought it was no big deal because I was still playing sports, I was still going to school, and I thought as long as nobody knows, I will be all right. As I continued to believe that I would never have a problem with drugs, the problems kept growing, and the drug usage slowly progressed. Even though drugs were becoming an everyday habit, I still graduated high school an all-state football player with dreams of playing college sports. That dream didn't last long, as I ended up getting in trouble the summer before college started. Instead of going to play football that August, I was headed to the North Dakota State Penitentiary. At 18 years old, I was scared to death. I shouldn't be going to prison, I should be playing football. I got out and started hanging out with the same people I was with before I went to prison. This time I was convinced that even though they were still doing drugs around me, I was strong enough to not use. That lasted maybe a couple of weeks, and there I was using drugs again. In that summer, the mother of my children told me that she was pregnant. So here I am in Dickinson, North Dakota, no job, using and selling drugs, with a child on the way. I knew I had to change. I wanted to change, but couldn't figure out how. Although I was involved with drugs, I knew I needed to get a job so I could support my child. I struggled finding work because I couldn't pass a drug test. I was a convicted felon and had recently been released from prison. I finally ended up getting an oil field job, and though I faked my drug test, I was happy I was able to provide as a man, and that's what mattered to me. Every day I was at work, I would carry a bottle of fake urine in my boxers just in case I had to take a random drug test. I did this for years. I would be gone at work all day, so it was easy for me to hide my usage from my family. In that time, I had 2 more children for a total of 3. I never used around my kids or used any time I would be at home. I tried to be an active father. My kids meant the world to me. I was just really good at being a functioning addict. When the oil field crashed, I got laid off and it crushed me. Even though I was using drugs, I had built a life for my family. I was the only source of income as the mother of my children was a full-time student pursuing a teaching degree. I was getting down on myself because I didn't have a job. I felt lesser than I have ever in my life. I felt like a failure, so I would get high. Then I would feel like even more of a failure because I couldn't stay sober. And once again, the only way to not feel anything anymore was to get high. It's the constant circle of addiction. I slowly started using more and more. The next thing I know, I'm headed back to prison because once again, my addiction got the best of me. Here I am, a father of 3 in prison for the second time, this time for 18 months. This time I had it figured out. I was done doing drugs. It had ruined every dream I ever had. At least that's what I told myself. I remember one day, my children came to visit me when I was in what was called Tompkins, a treatment facility that was through the prison system in Jamestown, North Dakota. During that visit, which was a family day for treatment, my children got the chance to tell me the things that affected them. Let me tell you, as a grown man that never cries, the things they told me destroyed me. By the end of that visit, I was bawling like I've never cried before. I thought I was good at hiding my addiction. I never used around them. I didn't think my children knew anything I was doing. At their young, innocent age, they knew everything. I was going to get out and I was going to do the right thing. I got out to a completely different world. My kids were gone, the mother of my children were gone, my world was gone. The people I thought that would be there forever had left me. I didn't think there was anything or anyone left for me to live for. I was furious, I was hurt. How could they abandon me? What did I do? I went right back to the one thing that would numb me. Out of prison for the second time, and within 3 days, I'm in full-blown active addiction. I was on parole and I knew I was about to go back to prison if I did not get away. I moved to Salt Lake City thinking it would make everything better, and temporarily it did. I ended up being the #1 salesperson for my company in all of Western United States and worked my way up to being the manager of a retail cell phone store in 3 months. I was sober, I was doing great, I was communicating with my kids again, then COVID came. The city shut down, I lost my job, I ended moving back to Dickinson. Once again, within weeks, I was back in full-blown addiction. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me or why I couldn't stay sober. I knew it was Dickinson. I knew this place was where the devil lived. One night I was high, I was paranoid. I thought people were out to get me. So I packed one bag and I jumped on a bus and ended up in Cincinnati, Ohio, where one of my high school friends was living. I got clean, I got a job, I was doing great. Then one day I got a call from my friend who was living in Ohio, and he was in jail in Lexington, Kentucky, and needed to get bonded out. I spent all the money I had bonding him out. With no money, I couldn't afford to pay rent, and him and I ended up getting kicked out of our apartment in Cincinnati. He moved back to Dickinson and I was stuck. There was no way I was going to come back to the devil's playground. I went to Phoenix to visit a friend and possibly make a life down there, far away from Dickinson. I got to Phoenix, got a job, got a car, then all hell broke loose. For the next year and a half, I was homeless, living in my car, bouncing between Phoenix and Las Vegas. Being homeless in those cities was one of the most eye-opening experiences I've ever lived through. I ended up getting some money and making a trip back to North Dakota. I ended up getting arrested with drugs in my possession and was facing 20 years in prison. I ended up getting 10 years with 6 years suspended, have to serve 4 years. This time in prison, I was tired, and I was just living a homeless life on the streets, addicted to fentanyl and meth. I wanted a new life. I sat in the prison cell facing the reality of my choices again. I realized Dickinson was never my problem. My problem seemed to follow me everywhere I went. My choices were my problem. My thoughts were my problem. I've been all across this country, and Dickinson is by far one of the best places I've ever been. I finally felt a shift within me. I realized I was tired of running from my past and the pain I had caused myself and my loved ones. They all had reasons to abandon me, because I abandoned myself. This time in prison, I found God. I committed myself to change. I took every class I could find. For the first time in my life, I reached out for help and gave up the thinking I could do it by myself. I knew I had to approach my life differently. I had to do things I've never done before. I had to stay away from anybody who didn't want the best for me. I had to build my support team. I sought out support groups and connected with people who understood my struggles. I surrounded myself with positivity and focused on building a foundation for my life. I knew I couldn't do it all at once. I learned I had to take it 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day at a time. When I was released from prison, I met my wife, Shaylin. There was an immediate connection. She also had battled active addiction. We understood each other's pain in a way that others couldn't. Shaylin had her own story of struggle and resilience, having fought her way through the depths of addiction. We would lay on my living room floor, staring at the ceiling, sharing our experiences, our failures, our hopes for the future, and our fears, finding comfort in the fact that we could do this together. Through this journey, I've learned that recovery is not just about abstaining from substances. It's about embracing the process of healing. It's about understanding that every setback is a setup for a comeback. Yes, I have stumbled and fallen multiple times, but each fall taught me something invaluable. I know I needed to quit using. I was told by so many people that addiction was doing to my family. Unless you understand addiction, you will never know the power it has over a human being. I've lost my sister and my friends to addiction. It's not that they didn't want to quit. Every single person I know that has died from addiction wanted to quit. They hated being addicted to whatever had complete control over them. They just didn't have the right support around them to be able to do so. Addiction is a vicious cycle that should never be fought alone. Since I've been in recovery, my entire life has transformed in ways I've never thought possible. I now have 2 amazing jobs surrounded by some of the most incredible people I've ever met. These co-workers have dedicated their lives to helping others, and their support has been a crucial part of my journey. To my co-workers, thank you for being the compassionate and inspiring individuals you are. Our community is undoubtedly a better place because of you. I also want to express my gratitude to my boss for believing in me. A former drug addict who's been to prison multiple times, who once thought it was impossible to make a difference in anyone's life, let alone my own. Your faith in me has opened doors I've never imagined I could have opened, and I'm truly grateful. On top of this, I have my children back in my life full-time, along with my wife's children. Rebuilding those relationships has been one of the most rewarding experiences in my recovery. I'm also a full-time student, and I'm proud to say I've made the president's list at Grand Canyon University. Thank you. My life is a blessing and I couldn't ask God for anything better. Recovery has shown me that change is possible, and every day I strive to be the best version of myself. I'm grateful for this journey and the people who have helped me along the way. Today I stand before you not as a perfect person, but as a person who has fought hard to reclaim my life. My past does not define me. It fuels my passion to help others find their way. I am living proof that no matter how far down the rabbit hole you go, there's always a way back up. Recovery is possible and it's worth every ounce of effort. I learned that I don't have to face my struggles alone. There are people who care and want to help. It's about being vulnerable, sharing your story, and knowing that your journey can inspire someone else to take the first step. If you're struggling, know that you're not alone. Embrace your journey, lean on your support system, and remember that every day is a new opportunity to make different choices. You have the power to change your story just like I did. I am the perfect example of change, an example of what you can be to what you can become. I was one of those people. I've seen rock bottom many times, and I'm here to tell you that there is hope in the bright path ahead. So take that first step and reach out for support, and believe that transformation is not just possible within your reach. Together we can break the cycle of addiction and create a future filled with possibilities. Thank you for letting me share my journey with you.